Hello backyard vegetable gardeners, welcome to the Backyard Vegetable Gardening channel. Today's July the 3rd, 2024, and I sure hope you're having a great day. Well guys, I sure hate it's been so long since I made a video, but to be quite honest with you, it's been hot, it's been dry, and I just haven't felt like making a video. But I do apologize. I'm going to try to be a little more consistent as we have things done, but the truth is there's so many channels on YouTube where people just make videos for the sake of making videos, and guys, I don't know about you, but I get a little bit bored with that stuff. They don't do me any good, they're not entertaining, and I certainly am not willing to just sit around and become a zombie staring at a screen all the time. So I hope when we make these videos, if we can't teach you nothing, at least it's entertaining. And today we're just going to talk about some of the things that's going on in the garden. And as you can see, we finally got one of the benches completed to sit under the pergola, and we've enjoyed it a time or two already with the grandbabies. It's been just a wonderful little treat. Hopefully my wife will get the other bench done and we'll have a nice space for fellowship. Got some exciting news. Today might be the day that the new grandbaby arrives, so we sure are thankful to the good Lord for that. We're thankful for all of our children and all of our grandchildren. Well, I got me a little note here, guys, and give you just a little rundown of what we've been going through. For the past, for the month of June, we had almost zero rainfall. We had a little over an inch, and we had 10 days above 90 degrees. And some of these days were closer to the 100-degree marker. So, we were out here watering sometimes twice a day, depending on what we were, depending on which plant, which bed. And I'll go ahead and share with you one of my frustrations. This year, I tried to experiment with growing in containers, and I'm just going to tell you, unless you're greatly limited in space, I would not recommend that. It's been the bane of my existence keeping these plants watered in these 10 and 12-inch pots because of the heat. They just dried out far too quickly, and once they dry out, it takes forever and a day to get that soil rehydrated so they'll do well. Now, we haven't lost any plants. We haven't lost any production on any of the plants that are in the containers. But I can tell you this, from now on, 20 inches is the limit for anything I plan on growing in a pot outdoors. It don't matter if that's lemongrass or lavender or the mint that you can't see that's below the camera. I can just tell you, that's not going to happen again, because it's like to work me to death, man. But for the month of May, we had 8 inches of rain. And that led me to a really severe problem with blossom end rot on almost every variety of tomato that we're growing. Now, I said almost every variety, not every variety, because some of them hadn't started to flower to set fruit yet. But man, I am telling you, we'll roll in some pictures, but I've never experienced that much blossom end rot in all of our days gardening. Now, we've had a few fruit here and there, a few tomatoes, a few peppers. Every year, you just can't help it some years. But man, I'm telling you, I have never in my life experienced that. And there's nothing you can do, especially when you're growing in the outdoors. All of our tomatoes and peppers are grown in raised beds. But one of the things that hurt us this year is our tomatoes are growing in a new bed. And if you've been watching the channel, you've seen us make those 4 by 18 foot beds using the fence boards. But we used the native soil mixed with some peat moss and some perlite. And our native soil is a very heavy clay, very good at holding the water. And that was my hope, was that the clay would hold more water than our 10-inch, 12-inch tall raised beds, where we shipped in some garden soil mix from one of the local suppliers. And I'm going to tell you, when we got that 8 inches of rain, them poor plants They did good. The leaves didn't turn yellow or spotty. They didn't drop off. But buddy, I'm telling you now, a lot of fruit is going to be going into the compost pile. In fact, we got to do that today because I was lazy and I just threw them below the plants the day before yesterday, and now the fruit flies are already gathering up on them and they got to go. So that's been one of our problems. Another problem that we've had has been varmints. And one of the worst problems we had didn't affect none of the plants. We trapped some skunks. And if you've ever had to deal with a skunk, you know that is quite the predicament. What do? Well, I can give you some tips. If you've never dealt with a skunk before, the best thing you can do is to try to trap it. Now, there's other ways. We won't mention that on YouTube. And if I was out of the city limits, that would be my preferred choice. But for the sake of the conversation, say you've got you a trap. Just go to the Tractor Supply, even Walmart sells them, maybe the Rural King, but just get you the large size automatic trap with the trap door. And you don't really even need to put a whole lot in it. Just put some peanut butter, some tuna fish, something, and the skunk will be attracted to it, get in there. Now the thing you got to watch is skunks aren't heavy, so you got to make sure that your trap is functioning properly, or the skunk's just going to go in there, walk all over everything, eat the food, and get out. Well, for our particular case, that wasn't what happened. The skunk got in there and the trap set. And then we caught another skunk the same day in another trap right in front of the first trap. And what happened was, one skunk got trapped and the rest of the family decided to come to its rescue. And man, I'm just going to tell you, we learned a valuable lesson about life from those skunks. I do believe that that particular family of skunks are far more loyal to each other than a lot of the human families that I've met during my time on this earth. And we watched those skunks work and work and work. They worked until the sun got hot, and then they'd leave. And then they'd come back again, and they did that for several days. Well, we had the idea, if they're going to do that, we've got several more traps, we're going to go over there and get them. Well, my son, being the fine strapping young man he is, without the sense that he should have by now, decides he's going to be brave and go put that thing. And thank God for him, because honestly, I wasn't willing to get sprayed. Well, he takes the other trap into my neighbor's yard, puts it down there, catches the skunk. Well, now we've got a problem. We can't deal with the skunks like we want to. And here's the tip I'm going to share with you. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you've trapped a skunk, one skunk. What you do is you wait until about dusk, and you get you a heavy blanket or a tarp, and you just really quietly walk up on the trap. The skunk won't spray you unless it feels threatened. Throw the tarp over it, and then come back the next day. And if you're gentle enough, you might can pick him up and he won't spray. But that's the purpose of the tarp. It's been our experience that when you're walking with the skunk on uneven surfaces, you're going to startle it and it's going to spray. And man, do I wish that I had a GoPro the day that we did it last year, when my son started yelling, "It got me! It got me!" And it didn't get him. He just never smelt skunk spray fresh. And buddy, I'm telling you now, it took your breath. But that's how you get rid of a skunk. Now, how you get it out of the cage, that's entirely up to you. I know some people that are very brave and they just walk over there and open the door and let it out. I've never been that brave. If you look at these traps, you've got to push a lever out of the way to free it up, and then you got to hook it to hold that trap door open. But I'll leave that up to your imagination how you do that. But we had another problem, and it worked out. It was kind of a sweet and sour moment. My grandbaby wanted me to plant some green beans, and my wife decided last year that we had plenty of green beans. We canned about 100 quarts last year, not counting what we ate fresh during the meals, and she decided I didn't need to grow no more green beans. Well, my little grandbaby wanted to grow purple beans. Now, they do turn green when you cook them. They're called Royal Burgundy. So one evening we got out there and we planted a couple rows of little bush beans just to be a blessing to that little baby. And we got to noticing that the squirrels were digging them up. Now, we've had a problem with squirrels all year, probably one of the worst we've ever had, and that's just not saying it in the moment. I mean, we've never really had that big of an issue with squirrels damaging any of the plants. Well, this year they started with the strawberries digging them up, and then they dug up our dill, and it was just a pain. Well, they started digging up some of the bush beans that we planted for the baby, and they just had started putting on leaves and growing good, and I was getting a little frustrated. But what really got my goat was something started nipping the tops, and I couldn't find any tracks. I couldn't find any scat, so I was thinking to myself, this is the strangest thing. I've never seen squirrels eat the top of plants. What it wound up being was we had a bunny. And the way we found the bunny was we found a nest of baby bunnies. That's the second time this year the mama bunny had dug up under one of our sage plants and hid it very well. And I didn't really know what it was until I started watering that plant, and I heard those poor little babies. Well, let's just say it wasn't air they was breathing. So we quit the watering. My son decided he wanted to get them out, and my wife has been bottle feeding them for a week. They're finally almost off the bottle. Really, really cute. I have no idea what we're going to do with them, but they're very precious. And we did wind up catching the mama, and we released her away from the garden. I don't think she'll be back. She did not like the experience in that cage, so we're very confident that she's going to do well as long as the neighborhood cats don't get her. And that's really all the problems we've had with the varmints and any kind of issues with the plants. Give you some updates on the garden. We hadn't been doing a whole lot till this week. We did finally harvest our potatoes, and we was very happy to get what we got, but we didn't get what we should have got because we didn't get to plant them until a month later than normal. The top started dying on them. Didn't matter how much water I gave them. We fertilized them like we were supposed to, but we really can't complain. I haven't weighed them yet, but I've got a couple tubs and buckets full of potatoes, and I can't really complain because I've got about, I think, $8 in seed potatoes. So we got our money's worth, that's for sure. We harvested our carrots yesterday, which was a good deal. Did an experiment. I've seen it's quite popular for a lot of people that they will sow their carrots real thick and try to harvest the babies as they go. And I don't really have an answer, a recommendation. I can tell you, I don't know if I'll do that method again. We had a little 4x8 box, and when we harvested yesterday, we got about a 5-gallon bucket's worth full of carrots without the greens. So that was not a bad deal. We probably had about $7 in carrot seed there, and we got a 5-gallon bucket full of carrots. So that was a pretty good deal. Did have an issue with the squirrels early on in that bed. Man, probably 15 or 20% of that bed was messed up by those squirrels. So a lot of those seeds didn't germinate. And I'll tell you what I learned, the red core, I think it's called a red core Chardonnay. That was probably the sweetest variety of carrot we grew. We grew some Danvers and some Nantes and some red core Chardonnay. And boy, those were really, really good. Probably gonna do my best to plant some more of them either today or sometime next week if I get a chance. Try to get a fall sowing of carrots. And that's gonna lead us into what I really wanna talk to you about, and that's getting ready for your fall planting. Now for us, my hope is to get a late harvest of corn, get some fall carrots, and go ahead and get my wife's broccoli started. Sorry guys, had to break away there. My boy working the camera today had a bug crawling on him, and he's hurt his arm yesterday. He was trying to fix a lawnmower that my neighbor gave him, and while he was trying to put the deck back on, something happened. I walked outside, he said, "Dad, I need your help," and basically the deck fell on him. It's not a working lawnmower as of yet. He's got a bone bruise, but anyway, he's only got one good arm, and he's trying to get a bug out from crawling around his back, so we stopped. So where was I at? Fall planting. We're going to try to plant some more of them red core Chardonnay carrots. Those were really tasty. Might do some Danvers. Those seem to do pretty good too, but they didn't taste as good as those red core jobs. We're going to try to get us a fall harvest of corn, late season corn. Don't really know if that's going to be possible. I have to look what kind of seed I got, because I doubt I could get any more short season corn seed. And we're going to start my wife's broccoli. So that's our plan. Now, as far as what I would recommend to you, if you're not familiar with your planting dates, your spring or your fall, you can get you a nice little planting tool off Amazon called Clyde's Garden Planter. On the front it'll have a section, it'll be for the spring. You flip it over and it'll have your dates for the back. Now, it's not all inclusive. It's probably only got about 20-25 different crop varieties on it, and it's not an exact thing. The story I heard was the guy was an engineer and he liked gardening, and he made him a little tool to help him with sowing, and it works fine. It's really no different than the spreadsheet that I created. And what you do is you just put that line, that red line, on your first frost date, and it'll tell you when you can sow things, when you can plant them, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I highly recommend it. If you ain't got nothing else to do with your garden, go ahead and do some succession planting. And so hopefully that's what we'll do. I do hope to propagate some late season tomatoes using suckers. I'm not really going to try to do that from seed. We have a long growing season here. We've got 172 days on average. Don't know what your growing season is, what you're at. You can find that at almanac.com. But we're going to try to grow some more tomato plants using the suckers to kind of balance out what we've lost in that first production from the blossom end rot. And that leads me to something I'm rather curious about, and hopefully you can help me here. We grew two types of paste tomatoes this year. We grew some Romas, and we grew some San Marzanos. I've heard a lot of people talk about them. I wanted to see for myself, so we split the bed, half Roma and half San Marzanos. They both seem to be doing equally well. I think the San Marzanos now are a lot more vigorous of a plant. I think the fruits are going to be smaller than the Romas, but I do believe there'll be more fruit. Well, there was something that I seen that's rather curious, and I want you to leave a comment and let me know if you're familiar with this, if it's normal, if it's unusual, if you know anything about it. We was looking on those San Marzano plants, and you know, you have your main stem, it comes up, then you have your leaf node, and then you'll have your fruit node. At the end of those fruit nodes, a lot of those branches have branched out and started going back up, and they're setting more fruit. It's like a sucker in the armpit of the plant, except it's growing from the tip. I've never seen that happen before, and in fact, I don't know how I'm going to handle it with the trellising method we did. I noticed the same thing on some of our cherry tomatoes. I can't remember which variety it was. I was out there the other day and I seen the same thing, but fortunately with those, they're tall enough off the ground that I'm not really going to worry about it. Well, if they start breaking the plants or something like that, we will. But please let me know if you've seen that phenomenon. I'd be curious to find out if that's normal. Should I expect that? If it's not normal, if you can tell me why it's doing it, I'd greatly appreciate it. And so I think that'll do it for today, guys. Just wanted to meet with you, say hello, apologize for not making a video, and give you a little quick update on what's going on around here. I sure do thank you for being with us. It's been my pleasure. Until we see you again, I hope you're having a great day.